And now, the general weather around Alaska.
And welcome to today's public segment. Up first here, we've got blizzard warnings for the Arctic coast and the red shaded areas, winter weather advisory for the central coast. And this portion of the North Slope, winter weather advisory back into a blizzard warning here, coming across the Brooks Range, Anatuvik Pass into the Dalton Highway. Looking for winds continuing to gust 35 to 55 miles an hour with visibilities a quarter mile or less in all these areas here until, well, for tonight through tomorrow. Winter weather advisory there for the mountains north of the Tanana Valley, and a wind advisory for Delta Junction. And the winter storm warning continues here for the Yakutat area for 5 to 10 inches of snow, and a winter weather advisory extends for Cordova into Valdez to Thompson Pass for also 5 to 10 inches of snow, and blowing snow possible in these areas with winds gusting to 35 miles per hour. And satellite imagery showing kind of a band of mid and high level clouds here from the Pribilof Islands northward to the Gulf of Anadyr there, and that drifting westward as everything kind of moving from west north, or from the east northeast to the west generally here. And pretty dry conditions over much of interior Alaska today, all the way from the Arctic coast on down. Some heavier clouds here over the Copper River Basin and in toward the northern panhandle, clearing down toward Dixon Entrance. Rolling this through again, you can see low pressure here tracking eastward, and a weak front right through here with some precipitation that's coming up to the north here and starting to increase some moisture there for the North Gulf Coast. Forecast for tonight, a low develops here just south of the Resurrection Bay area, and chances of snow increase all across south central Alaska, especially east and south of the Alaska Range into the Copper River Basin and the North Gulf Coast, and right along the extreme north coast of the Panhandle. Increasing winds over the northern southeast coast there are pretty gusty out of the northeast, to a lesser extent down to the south. Stays very windy here, especially through the passes of the Brooks Range, where some gusts are as high as 70 miles per hour today out of the northeast. Again, staying windy for the Arctic coast with those blizzard warnings. A lot better conditions here in northern Bering Sea into the southwest interior. And pretty dry, pretty calm here over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Next system starting to bring a little bit of wind into the Shimian-Attu area. But that front really weakens for the day Friday with just areas of rain and snow, light rain and snow in the narrow band there over the western Aleutians, staying mostly to the west of Amchitka Island. Definitely staying west of Adak and Atka, where they'll see pretty light winds into the eastern Aleutians. And again, just some snow showers here over the central Bering Sea. Otherwise, light winds, dry conditions all the way up to the Bering Strait. Picking up the wind again here, northern interior in the Chukchi Sea out to the Arctic coast, with maybe a few snow showers getting thrown in the mix there. And then still some light snow here, possible for south central Alaska on up to the Alaska Range, and mostly over the southern Copper River Basin there, with mixture of rain and snow for the North Gulf Coast, and possibly down along the entire coast of the Panhandle. I'll be bumping into those northeast winds there, and that'll keep the eastern areas on the dry side, but look for an increase in the clouds. Next front down here just coming onto the chart on Saturday, first day of the weekend, kind of comes northward. Moisture again reaching the North Gulf Coast in the form of rain or snow into the southern Cook Inlet, scattered snow showers in the central interior, and kind of a line of some light scattered snow showers there. Northern Koyukuk Valley, back along the southern slopes of the Brooks Range there, kind of angling in toward Kotzebue Sound, maybe Shishmaref, Tin City, those areas, but that'll be very light to the east and west, dry with some clearing. And the southeast coast, a lot of lines here, very windy conditions with gales on the south coast there due to the pressure falls with this system pushing up toward the Queen Charlotte Islands. So you start to see an increase in the moisture, especially over Dixon Entrance. But generally, the entire southeast coast will see a dry day on Saturday. And this weak system out here brings some light rain into the central Aleutians. And looking ahead, second day of the weekend, Sunday. Areas of light snow up here in the north. Light winds now, as you can see, a lot less lines there for the Arctic coast into the Brooks Range. So winds come down very noticeably, and light winds all the way down into Cook Inlet with, could see a fair amount of sunshine here in the interior and the clear areas there. Some of that possibly into the Bering Sea. This front down to the south keeps it wet and breezy for the Aleutians. Most of the Aleutians, western Alaska Peninsula, all the way out to about Kiska Island there. And another system here in the front pushing northward brings increasing little bit of an increase in the winds with rain and snow there for the for the entire North Gulf Coast, except for the Kenai Peninsula there. Should stay south or east of that area, and mostly in the northern panhandle catching the moisture there with drier conditions on down to the south. Lows tonight, teens in the north and east panhandle, otherwise in the 20s, near 20 for Yakutat. 5 below in the Copper River Basin, in the teens to mid-20s, south central Alaska, upper 20s, Kodiak Island, and around 5 to 15 in Bristol Bay. Highs for tomorrow, 5 to 10, the Copper River Basin, about the same over in the Kuskokwim Valley, at least in toward the Alaska Range, and 20s here for south central Alaska, mid-30s Kodiak Island, and 15 to 23 there for the Bristol Bay area, and 20s here for the northern panhandle, lower 20s, and mid-30s down to the south. And then the lows, again, 15 to 20 here for the northern southeast coast, and then anywhere from 20 to 30 in the central areas, upper 20s to lower 30s there from Annette and over toward Prince of Wales Island. Staying just a shade below zero in areas of the Copper River Basin. Other areas here to the south staying above zero. 26 for Valdez, 15 to 20 for the Susitna Valley into northern Cook Inlet, as well as the Kenai Peninsula. 30 for Homer, mid-30s Kodiak Island, and 5 to 10 for the Copper River Bay, or for the Bristol Bay area. And for highs on Saturday, mid-teens Copper River Basin, upper 20s now for much of south central Alaska, rising back above freezing. Upper 30s Seward to Homer, Seldovia, near 40 for Kodiak, and in the 20s for the Bristol Bay area, 10 to 20 for the Kuskokwim Valley, mid-teens for the Copper River Basin, upper 20s, lower 30s, northern southeast coast, and some 40s coming back from Sitka to Port Alexander, as well as Heidelberg and Craig and Klawock. Lows below zero, northern interior, coldest on the north slope in the Yukon Flats there. Could see 25 to 30 below in those areas. Nome staying a little above zero at St. Lawrence Island, as well as St. Lawrence Island. Highs tomorrow anywhere from 10 below to 10 above in the interior there, say around Fairbanks, about 8. And then the lows the following morning back below zero. And especially over the north slope here, that'd be where you probably see some minus 20s. And below zero now for the Seward Peninsula, St. Lawrence Island, Yukon Delta. Then highs coming up into the teens, lower teens, maybe mid-teens here, 22 say for Healy, and 13 for Fairbanks, otherwise staying below zero here to the north, all the way out to the Arctic coast. Single numbers for the Seward Peninsula. And out to the west, upper 20s for the Pribilofs for the lows tonight, 30s everywhere else, Alaska Peninsula, upper 20s, lower 30s. And then the highs tomorrow, 5 to 15 here along the southwest coast, and right around freezing for the Pribilofs. Upper 30s on Alaska and the Nikolsky, and same thing for Adak and Atka, as well as Shemya. And then the Saturday morning lows, lower to mid-30s here for the Aleutians, mid-20s there for the St. Paul, St. George area, 0 to 5 for the southwest coast, and upper 20s, lower 30s for the Alaska Peninsula. Highs on Saturday afternoon. Mid to upper 30s for the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, closer to 40 there for Adak and Atka, lower 30s for Shemya and the Pribilof Islands.